Look what happened with Nikola Tesla for threatening the status quo of the big oil and electric companies. How about today? Stanley Allen Meyer began tinkering on his dune buggy around 1980 and started filing several patents as early as 1982 using water as a source for hydrogen fuel. He invented a device that enabled conversion of a gas-powered car to run on hydrogen from regular water. He planned to mass produce and sell them for about $1,500 each, requiring neither maintenance nor replacement. If your average tank of gas costs $30, his fuel cell would pay for itself within the time frame you would have otherwise paid for 50 fill-ups with gasoline. His tiny water fuel cell conversion unit, small enough to fit in the palm of his hand, eliminated any danger of explosion which larger hydrogen fuel cells have, or danger of excess hydrogen buildup, and are obviously safer than a traditional gas tank. The unit creates high voltage dissociation of water, converting the water H2O into the base hydrogen and oxygen elements, pollution-free, regardless if it is rainwater, well water, city water, or salt water from the ocean, even snow, with no adverse effect to the fuel cell. Calculations indicated if he drove his dune buggy from Los Angeles to New York, it would roughly take only 22 gallons of water. The movie Back to the Future was released in 1985. In 1986, Channel 6 Action News' Ralph Robinson reported, "The Pentagon flew in a lieutenant colonel last week to look at Meyer's invention. There is talk of possibly using it in the Star Wars defense program or to run army tanks." He applied for over 42 patents over a 20-year period, and after he became famous for publicizing it with mainstream television news reporters, some big oil companies offered him $1 billion in cash just to stop everything and sit on it, which he refused. His intent was to free the masses from the oil companies. After over 20 years of work, on March 20th, 1998, in celebration, right after the city had agreed to a proposal for his $50 million research and development facility at the Grover City Cracker Barrel, Stanley Meyer and his brother Steven, with two Belgian investors, Philippe van der Motelle and Mark van Krayenist, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, raised glasses of cranberry juice. Stanley took a drink of juice, grabbed his neck, bolted out the door, and violently vomited. His brother Steven was the only one to run outside and ask him, "What's wrong?" And Stanley's only declaration before he died was, "They poisoned me." When Steven told the Belgians his brother died, they said nothing, expressed nothing at all. Total amoral response. Stanley was murdered. He's a martyr for the people because he wouldn't sell out. The coroner's report detected the drugs Lidocaine and Phenytoin, also called Dilantin, which has been proven to interact with lidocaine and increase adverse reactions, including vomiting, seizures, loss of consciousness, coma, and cardiovascular collapse. With a toxic IV bolus dose of lidocaine alone, these reactions can occur quickly without any of the milder central nervous system symptoms. The Franklin County coroner ruled that Meyer died of a brain aneurysm, which is when a weaker vessel breaks. It's just a positive pressure blowout. But they downplayed it, saying he had high blood pressure. Well, when you combine everything you know from the zero disease class, it's obvious to see how these drugs can increase someone's already existing high blood pressure and cause that positive pressure blowout. But they downplayed it, saying he had high blood pressure. These kinds of tactics are more common than most people think. I should know. The same kind of thing happened to my father. Stanley's more than 20 patents expired shortly after. When will we see his work completed and commonly used as he hoped? He's not the only person who's been killed trying to get this technology out. Again, Google history of Standard Oil Trust. Meanwhile, in the 90s, Paul Pantone of Utah had invented a different type of water-run motor and filed for a patent. By the year 2000, he was offered many millions of dollars for the rights to his invention and denied the offers of money, since they all refused to agree to use it to bless humanity. He was then railroaded with a series of bizarre legal maneuvers and was locked up in prison for many years. Then later transferred to a state mental hospital in Provo, Utah, with the argument all along that it was lunacy. The word used as the title of one of the initial local newspaper articles because they claimed what he said he did was impossible to do. But in the 90s, my own father had traveled out to visit him in person and saw Paul's motor run on water with his own eyes. We've been self-sufficient, green, sustainable, and free energy thinkers and supporters for many years. Paul's story is available online. With 200 of his devices which had gone out into circulation in the United States, after a lot of support from his fans and enduring horrible persecution, Paul was finally set free. He was considered one of the lucky ones because lots of people have been killed over this. But Paul's health had deteriorated under the care of the state, and he died December 14th, 2015. Again, Google the history of Standard Oil Trusts, and you'll get an idea of how these people enforce their plans. It's the same people who ended up taking over the petropharmaceutical, drug, and medical industries. One thing we've noticed for many years now about the one in heart, one in mind, the more empowered we become, the more sustainable, free energy, and free thinking we become. It's amazing how like-minded the people are who have experienced our classes. They're all from different races and religions, but it's like they're all cut from the same cloth still. These principles have been at work all along, and it's time for the next quantum leap.